Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another session of interview preparedness from 360 Digit MG. We are one of the leading training institutes in the country and soon going to have our name on the map of the world as well. So it's a privilege to be taking this session. All right. And we have spent quite a bit of time. We have been addressing randomly various sessions. All right. And the basic fundamental that one must remember is to have the complete drill down. All right. You should be able to rattle off just about everything that is mentioned. Now, from the front of it, it may look to be a very small thing, but you should be able to understand every single thing in the drill down measure. All right. Whatever is mentioned. All right. Now, obviously, this is a lot of things, but it is expected that you are able to remember all of them. All right. So I'll go ahead and do the randomized questions, which we have done previously also. Okay. And so we'll spend some time on a topic called feature engineering today. All right. The main topic of feature engineering. Okay. So first things first, how do you ask or how do you make the interviewer ask you questions about feature engineering? All right. Now, obviously, if you are prepared, all right. So yesterday's session, I was telling you about how you will have to lead the person towards your line of questioning, or take the battle to your place. Okay. So now, one of the questions that was we were discussing yesterday was explain the project, and in that explain the project, make there are certain things like leaving subtle clues. All right. So things like now when you leave a statement like this, all right, we could not. You can explain like an anecdote. All right, you can explain. All right, this is what happened, and we used feature engineering. Now, some people also use the word, simulation. All right, simulation for getting variables. This is also some people. Now, be sure if you're going to be using any difficult words, you must have a good grip on what it is. So obviously, the question is, the first question is, what is feature engineering? All right. So feature engineering, all right, that is the fundamental definition. Feature engineering is what is done to extract data and can be done via data mining. Okay, and now that's a pretty strange statement, right? The whole objective of feature engineering is we couldn't do data mining. So how are we doing data mining to get the features? All right. So for example, if we take the example, something can, you know, we have data but no output variables, and it is expected build a now we are not able to identify the output features. All right. So what do we do? We can perform clustering, use domain knowledge to label the clusters, use these labels as use this variables as the output variable interest, perform perform classification. So what did we do? We used a data mining technique to identify these labels which are identifying the features and ultimately use them to perform another data mining, which is the classification. Is it making sense, friends? Is it all right? Now, this can be done. Let me explain, complete the definition. And all right, so this is the theoretical definition. All right, and this is the example. Okay, so that's how you roll. All right, now how did we go about this? We left a clue. We left a clue by mentioning that in this particular project, I used feature engineering. All right, so it is something that is bound to get picked up. You will also have to be smart to steer the direction. Now, the next logical question is, let me put this Q here, that is the indication of a question. The first thing is we need to figuring out what are the features which we are going to, obviously you need some data, it cannot be entirely blank. So we need to have some data to figure out what is what, all right, and brainstorm on the testing features. Then checking how these features work with the model. Then of course improve. All right, so this is what we have. Okay, so we can step for feature engineering. Now, feature engineering is often used in the perspective of image processing. All right, so generally in the edge detection. So the logical question could be, now if you obviously mention feature engineering is used for edge detection, let us say, what is the types of, all right, what are the types of, I should say what are, I doubt if somebody is going to, you know, measure your memory powers, but if they do, the methods are Sobel edge detection, pre-bit edge detection, and there is known as the canny. Of course, these are the few that the top of my head. Now the beauty of the analytics and AI and ML and DL algorithms are that something or the other new things keep coming. All right. So you cannot always keep up with them. All right. Now, let me take scenario based questions. All right. Scenario based questions are we are building a linear regression model. All right. In our attempt to increase the R square value, all right, the accuracy of the model is getting reduced. All right. So how do you explain this? The R square is all right, is the ratio between the SSR, sum of square regression versus is the measure of the contribution of the whereas SSE is simply a all right, is a measure of accuracy or measure of error. Okay. Now when the SSR increases substantially, even for a small increase, the overall all right. So this is what we have. All right. This is another explanation of. Okay. Next, is it possible for adjusted R square to be negative? The answer is yes. Now, obviously, the explanation, when the residual so this implies that the insignificance, all right, Insignificance of input variables. Okay, so that's the explanation there. So you can have negative values, that's going to make it. Okay. Now that we are discussing about regression, and we have always seen something great about regression, let us now discuss about the disadvantages. It fails when there is now multicollinearity. Okay, this is one. Input data range from the minimum x value. Now explanation, if one of the inputs all right will work within that range. Okay, whereas whereas there is a chance that this relationship may be value dependent. All right. So when you yeah, so we've had an input from one of our friends. Regression assumes data set values remains constant. That is the preliminary assumption. All right. Data set remains constant. It is influenced by outliers. Now we don't really call them outliers. We call them influential records. Okay. So it is influenced by that. Then all right, works well for data that is normally distributed. So these are some of the drawbacks of the regression models. Okay. All right. So given that you have some interest in that, let me what is nonlinear regression? Okay. What is nonlinear regression? So all right. All right, polynomial, etc. are now. What are the drawbacks for the nonlinear regression? And detection of the model's inadequacy due to outliers is difficult to find out. All right, it is difficult to find out which, for what reason is the model inadequate. When you're using a polynomial form, the model is not doing well. It could be because of the existence of outliers, but having made a polynomial form, the detection or the validation for such thing is very difficult. Okay. All right. So with that, we'll stop here. Okay. And thank you so much. Please continue to observe our sessions. See you again. Thank you.